Welcome to AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York. I'm BJ Smith. I have with me Maggie Mesa, who is the VP of Mobile Business Development at OpenX. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about OpenX.
OpenX is a leading omni-channel mobile SSP and ad exchange. So we partner with all of the leading publishers for desktop, mobile web, and mobile app to monetize their inventory programmatically with all of our demand-side platforms.
Okay, so programmatic and the data-driven stuff has actually been a very popular subject recently. And since you're the VP of Mobile Business Development, what are some of the challenges that you have with dealing with mobile formats?
Yeah, I think there's still gaps both on the technology as well as education side as it pertains to viewability, attribution, for the app environment versus using your more traditional desktop digital attribution partner. So we find that there's still a gap in brand and brand marketing spend and investment in mobile, even though the users have already sort of flocked to the mobile devices. Needless to say, the brand dollars are still catching up and connecting their message with those users.
You know, and this kind of blows my mind. I've been doing research for some of my web design students that I teach at college back home. And when you look at mobile usage versus desktop usage, for the first few years, the desktop usage was up here and mobile was down here.
Absolutely.
But I think it's been since around 2013 where they crossed paths and mobile has just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah, so you're right. The intersection for mobile versus desktop crossed about 2 years ago. And then more specifically, from a programmatic perspective, mobile app versus mobile web, that intersection crossed about over a year ago, where we see app inventory growing at a faster rate, and that's where users are flocking to as well, versus a mobile web optimized website.
So why do you think people are having a harder time making that switch to the more mobile platforms?
There's gaps really on the viewability and the attribution side, tracking, and then obviously making that data actionable. So there's one thing, which is getting the right technology partners to ensure you're tracking the right KPIs and metrics and reporting on that. And then there's the second piece, which is making sure you're partnering with the right technology platforms to make that data actionable. And there's still some gaps in both pieces of that story for marketers.
What about the different ad formats in mobile?
Ad formats is a huge piece of everyone's sort of strategy as it relates to mobile, because just the screens are smaller, right? And so you have to approach it in a unique and explicit strategy. So I'm a big believer in mobile video. I think more and more users are consuming content, and you see this trend as well. They're consuming content on your mobile device, most specifically mobile video content. I myself am a huge consumer of mobile video content. So I think from an ad format perspective, marketers need to align with platforms and, again, also supply partners and publishers that can enable them to run a truly mobile-first campaign.
Right. Is there any concern with data usage when it comes to the mobile video?
Absolutely. One of the things that I've heard a lot about at Adweek this week, and certainly it's top of mind for a lot of our publishers, is making sure, obviously, the data that they're sharing with the brands and the agencies is in a secure environment, and again, that is actionable. And one of the things and the pieces of data that is becoming more and more relevant for marketers is the engagement metrics. And that's something that the publisher can share, and more importantly, the platforms like OpenX in the middle can share with the marketers to help drive spend to these new formats. So it's not that it's less about transparency and quality, it's absolutely still about those two pillars, but the piece that's new is the level of engagement for that user with that ad.
Right.
And that's something new that's being introduced, and I've heard a lot about it Adweek this week.
Going back to the formats, you mentioned video. I feel like, personally, I'm more averse to ads when it comes to something on my mobile device. Is it the video format that's more acceptable to the user, or are there other formats that people tend to gravitate towards?
Yeah, I think we're at an impasse as it relates to formats, because I think a lot of folks feel the same way that you do, where advertising on the mobile device can be distracting, especially given the size of the mobile screen.
Right.
And I think it's forced a lot of mobile-first companies to really think about that, whether it be vertical video. So you see Snot pretty active in that market, and publishers are testing that format as well. Just simply not having to turn your phone to see a video. Like the simple basics, right? Being able to view content in the same way the content within the app is displayed. Very simple things that we probably take for granted would make advertising less intrusive. And then there's just simply the length of the ad. So 6-second video is a new concept that a few folks are testing as well. I think when you talk about a mobile device, you have to think about how the user is consuming content and what is their, how much advertising content they want to ingest and where within the app. And I think 6-second video is an interesting way to introduce advertising in a shorter form in the mobile device that users would embrace.
Yeah, that's interesting. 6 seconds, and you wonder how much can be told in 6 seconds. Is this, are these lessons that we've learned from Vine, even though Vine, rest in peace, is no longer with us?
You know, that's a great question. There's actually some early studies around video advertising in the mobile environment, and obviously most mobile advertising is skippable, but it's skippable after a certain amount of time, right? Yeah. And so there's actually quite a bit of studies that have gone on around how long it takes a user to skip a video ad. And quite frankly, most users, even if the video ad itself is 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 2 minutes or what have you, are skipping that ad between 7 and 8 seconds.
Sure. So, or they're tuning out mentally.
Yes. So the argument is, quite frankly, 6 seconds is the only length of time in which a user is really truly consuming that ad. So we should make content to align, again, with the user's behavior within that platform.
That's cool. Is there any technology or upcoming innovations that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm really bullish on AR. I think that there's a lot of ways in which we can introduce that technology. Right now you see it obviously focused right now on gaming, and a lot of innovation in the mobile ecosystem has sort of spun out of gamers and gaming publishers, which I think is great, and I'm really excited to see it come to new verticals, especially to embrace as I am moving, out of the generation that is truly mobile first.
Yeah.
I think about really new and interesting, rich ways to introduce AR content into someone's life, and whether it be travel, education, I think there's just unlimited opportunities for AR and obviously VR down the road as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I come to New York a couple of times a year. I don't live here, so I feel like I always see something new when I come, or something that I've heard about. And we're in a different place this year than my stage was last year, so I'm taking a different route here. And this isn't really AR. I guess it's more of a visual search. But as I'm walking down the road, this just kind of popped in my head the other day. Is I see Sardi's, which is famous, and I look at it and say, "Oh, I recognize that from Seinfeld." And how cool would it be to hold up my phone and point it at Sardi's, and all of a sudden it finds that episode of Seinfeld for me to watch?
No, there's absolutely new innovative technologies, as you point out, with your device that I think will be next generation. Visual search, that's a great example. I think there's ways in which we engage with our phone that we haven't used it for before, and I think you also see a lot of the things that smart devices are doing in the home that are forcing users to engage with their phone in different ways, whether it's the Alexa devices, things of that nature. So I think that's super exciting, and I think there's just interesting ways we haven't utilized that technology yet. So I'm hopeful, whether it be, again, education, travel, things that are maybe perhaps more interesting to me. But I'm very bullish on that technology in general.
Well, great. Maggie Mesa from OpenX, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, great to meet you. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. We'll be back with more AW360 Live at Advertising Week New York.